All right, mic check, good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and I'm always all over the country and the world looking for the guests that bring you an hour of enjoyment on your easy listening day. Today we have a wonderful guest who is a friend of mine and part of my local chapter here in Saskatchewan. And being a part of National Volunteer Month, this is going to be a great episode here with Shawn Laporte. Shawn, how are you doing?
Doing well, Max, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I was on holidays for a bit, but now I'm back and in the real world, and work is less fun than I remember it at 30 years old. I don't know. What do you think? We're getting up there, man.
Yeah. I have to agree. You feel the aching bones at the end of the week.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The rebounds will take longer. Hangovers even take twice as long.
Well, let's not talk about those. But Shawn, thank you for being on the show. I met you through the local chapter here, and the topic in general is going to be about volunteerism and National Volunteer Month. But let's start at the start where I always do. Where's Shawn from? Where'd you come from? Where are you born? Where's the roots?
Well, I was born and raised in North Bay, Ontario, and lived on the outskirts of North Bay in a small little township called Chisholm Township, and just outside of Powassan. My dad was blue collar, and my mom was an LP nurse, and I pretty well learned all doing everything with my dad, hands-on. He was a jack of all trades, master of none, like you could say. He was a heavy equipment operator. And then I graduated from high school in South River, Amagwin Highlands, in 93. So I did a lot of shop classes in there, more of electrical side, anything else. Originally,
Did the school have welding?
Yeah, actually, it did have a welding program. It had a machine shop, carpentry shop, automotive, drafting, and it still had all the good shops like back in the day type thing. It was like in the late 90s, that's when they were starting to pull all those programs out. I had a great instructor. My electrical instructor, I remember, he was awesome. He was an electrician, so he would let us do off-site wiring on other teachers' houses, which I didn't understand why, but cheap labor, I guess.
Hopefully no one burnt down is looking for a lawsuit right now. So.
Yes. And then we had a great drama program, and so all the shops would build all the props for it. We did all the wiring for all the lighting. We built our own light board and everything. We had the carpentry shop. We built all the props. So it was pretty cool in that way. So I was able to maintain. I was part of the maintenance crew on keeping that up and going. And then I went to school originally for electronic technician down in Toronto, and at Rio College, Canada. But towards the end of my exams, my dad had cancer, and he passed right at the end of them. So I didn't finish that program, which I kind of regret because he put a lot of money and time into me for going.
It's a good program too. Yeah,
it was a great program. I don't regret not doing it because it sure helped me with my future career in welding type thing and in inspections. And then so I took a few years off. Always been good with my hands. Like when I was 13, I helped my uncle build his house, rebuilt it, dug the well, put the foundation in, right up to framing all the walls and finishing everything. And so he was really my mentor type thing. So after that program, I went and worked at a few remote camps just to get my bearings back to normal.
Just in
After,
Ontario, yeah.
yeah, in Ontario. I was still in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Then about 4 years after that, I decided to go back to school. And in '96, about 2 years, I should say. In '96, I decided to go and take the welfare program at in Kirkland Lake at Northern College.
Mm-hmm.
When I was talking to my uncle and his brother, they were both great carpenters and everything. And I asked them, I'm deciding either go to do Victorian homes restoration at Algonquin College in Ottawa, or should I go into welding and become a welder fitter? And both of them said, if you want to make money back then, they said go into welding. So that's
Still true.
why it's still true, yes. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
they were great mentors for me over the years. So did my program in Northern College, did the pre-employment course.
That's a 2-year course that they have there, or a 1-year course?
It was just a 1-year course type program. It was a very good program. My instructor was a weld technologist that graduated from the school. It was kind of funny. When we were doing layouts for stairs, I had to show the class how to build stairs because with my carpentry background.
Yeah.
But it was neat having the technologists there to teach us how to do WPSs and PQRs, how to develop them. He really strongly showed us that.
The procedural side of it, not just throwing beads down.
Yeah. And that helped a lot. And I got really interested in that. And him and hollering about going into their weld technologist program. But I wanted to get into the field and make money at that age when I was in my late 20s. So then I had to do a 2-week work placement.
Yeah,
a work placement. So I asked my instructor, where is some of these like old guys?
Yeah.
I wanted to learn how to weld and how to fit properly. And anyway, there was a shop, two brothers shop in Kirkland Lake, and they did a lot of work for Macassa, Kid Rock, Kid Creek, a gold mine, a local gold mine there. And they did a lot of work for them. So I went in there and bugged him multiple times. And he says, no, I don't have any work for you. And then one day he turned up and I went there the next week. Every week I kept on going to this guy and keep on bugging him for my work placement. And it panned out at the end. And he says, yeah, I got work next week. If you could get the time off from school, you can do your 2 weeks starting next week. I got a big contract coming up and I have work for you. Anyway, so went and asked my instructor, begged him so I can do my work placement with this guy since I got my foot in the door. Anyway, it was the best work I ever done for myself. It's working with those two brothers. We built stuff and they built underground crusher units for the mine and everything.
Okay,
and that was always a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I got to learn. I worked with. It was a real small shop. Was total of 5 guys in it, and it was still the day that you bring the 40-foot sheet, you drag the 40-foot sheet into the shop with the forklift, and you start laying it all out.
Yeah, just get the work on right from plate. Yeah.
Yeah. There was no plasma tables or nothing. It was by hand, neither with the little beetle doing long straight cuts and all that. And we cut all our plate work out of that. So, and then he was very anal on the amount of wastage too. He would weigh the wastage at the end of the day.
I've been a part of that.
I thought that was the best experience in there, and to this day is still a real highlight of my career.
Yeah.
We built a crusher unit down on the 5750 level in Macassa, and we only had to blow one hole out of the whole project because the formers didn't put the anchor bolt in the right spot. We built it all on top on surface.
Yeah.
We double check our dimensions to make sure it could go down the shaft.
And then down, yeah.
And down. So it was a neat learning experience there. Only was able to work there for a couple of years until he closed up shop because the gold was starting to go down in price
Mm-hmm.
during that early 2000s. So then I took a contract job with the Canadian Coast Guard as a welder there. So I got to work on
In the middle of Ontario.
in Parrystown. So I stayed around Northern
Yeah,
Ontario, Parrystown. It was a good opportunity. It was a short contract, it was
yeah,
6 months, but I was able to go on to an icebreaker, and we
cool.
had to cut out the baffles to take out a piece of equipment when
Down in
we
the
were
hall, yeah,
overhauling.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
neat. It was a neat experience and all that. And
Mm-hmm. Now, if we go back in time to like when you first got into it, you said you went for electronics training,
yeah,
Radio Canada, right from that was coming out of high school. Now, you told me like lots of your family was in the trades. Lots of the family was like involved in blue collar work. Were you ever at that point as a young man thinking that you may have wanted to get out of blue collar work or not follow kind of in the same path? Because I know that that's something that happens. It has happened in a lot of households. A lot of blue collar parents convince their kids that being blue collar is the worst thing you could do. And it doesn't sound like it was like that in your home.
well, yes, it was. My dad was very much into education. He wanted me to do better than him. He got hurt in a younger age, hurt his back in an injury at work. He fell off the cable steps on the grader, and instead of letting himself fall, he grabbed onto it and he ruptured his lower vertebrae and his lower back. So he was dealing with that for a lot of years. And a lot of my cousins were going into engineering. I had one cousin is electrical engineer, another one went to school for chemical engineer. So my dad wanted the pride thing to push me into that kind of field. He wanted me to go and work in an office in a cubicle and not get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then he realized when I was at Radio College Canada, he realized that I had ADD over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and they never diagnosed me until I was in high school, and just did everything for me. I was able to
Yeah.
get past that way. When I went to Radio College Canada, I was able to get a teacher seen me struggling with the verbal communication tests and all that. And he went up to the dean there and said to him that he wanted me to get my stuff vocal because I was barely passing the exams. But he see me in the labs, acing them like I was flying through the labs quicker than everybody else in my class. He knew that I was very hands-on and all that. And his wife was also ADD. So he understood what the struggle I was having. So I started getting all my stuff read to me and dictate, which helped me lots. But again, being in high school, being bullied for that, being pulled out of the the help to get all the help all the time, you kind of feel bad on that, not being able to start. But back to your saying that for your parents not wanting you to do that, he was strong not to about that, but he realized that I was very good with stuff with my hands
Yeah, it would be a
and
waste,
waste of talent too as well. But he just wanted me to do better than him. That was the key thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then once like you said, your dad passed away when you were fairly young,
Yeah.
you know, the rest of your family supporting you as you kind of, I'm going to go off into this now. I'm going to become a welder. I'm moving up to this town. I'm going over to this job. How was the family support? How did the people feel about your career as it started to develop?
My aunt and uncle, um, they really seen it in me when I was younger, and they always had big debates with my dad on it. Why not let him keep in the trades and everything?
Yeah.
Um, but they were my uncle who I helped build my uncle Gilbert who I helped build his house.
Hmm.
He was my big supporter on, and my
Yeah.
Aunt Sue
He
type
was Team
thing.
Shawn.
Yeah, big time. And my mom was very supportive too as well. Um So she's another big supporter. She was in her 49. She went back to university and got her master's of social work in 4 years.
Wow.
So like there was people that in my life that taught me how to work hard, and you can exceed quite well
Hmm.
with hard work.
And now we're catching back up to where you were in your history. You're picking up contracts now. You're doing a little bit of the travel. That isn't necessarily the normal for welders. I think a lot of welder fitters dream of these really cool jobs. They dream of wanting to do cool stuff, but they don't necessarily get out there and do it, right? Because it isn't necessarily easy, and it's scary, to be pushed kind of past your skills. Because I find that whenever you get sent out to a new job in the middle of nowhere, you don't really know what you're getting into, and you're gonna have to be pretty wily about how it gets done. So, how did you like those type of jobs where you're going out there and having to figure out these how you're gonna get this done?
Actually, I loved it,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
I worked in shutdowns up in Kid Creek in Timmins, Ontario for right up to before I moved out to Saskatchewan in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
We did like we at Kid Creek's copper foundry there. We put a whole new bottom dish on the furnace, and that was neat doing all that construction work. Or just doing the last job I was in Ontario, I was working on, and it was Grand Forest products, but Miller, I think might be, I'm not sure who took over them anyway
Mm-hmm.
now, but they were putting a OSB recovery system. And that was my major job I did.
Yeah.
And they always kept on pushing me as being lead, all my foremans type thing. They really seen it that I like to do stuff and organize stuff and everything. And they put me on these lead jobs, but I was still quite independent. I'd rather been left alone and fit by myself type deal than babysitting a bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah. Just leave
But
me alone and let me get the job done.
yes, and it was. I found in my career yeah, sure, in my resume it showed that I had a bunch of employment areas, but each place I learned something new, which made me better into my craft. Um, like just doing simple rigging and foolish rigging type deal, just get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To today's standards, is not quite well. We would have been written off and sent away from back home quite easily.
What are you guys doing? Hey,
Yeah.
man, safety's come a long way in my career, and that's only 30 years, man.
Yes, I agree. And then also a lot of the foremen, they sent me to deal with the engineers when stuff was wrong at my younger age type thing. To debate with them who was in the wrong and all that on a contract. And a lot of times they send a junior engineer to me and all that. And then I had to somewhat tune them in. So say type thing when stuff's going wrong. What's like one example, we were putting a big stair tower up and they wanted me to put a landing with staircase, and there was a steam line going across this old plant.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure, I could put your staircase there. And he says, well, why can't you? And I says, well, I don't think they're going to be happy with me. And they said, oh, why? And I says, well, when I go and cut that steam line up on top and put a big loop so I can put your staircase there, we better change our plan on how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you guys put it in the wrong spot. No, I know I didn't put it in the wrong spot. My
Yeah.
elevations are bright.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Engineer didn't come out and look before he drew it up. That's what happened. Yeah.
well, yeah, they were going off the old site plans, and
Yeah.
that OSB plant been around since the 50s. So, and it was on a old wind structure at the time too.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a great opportunity to learn how to adapt and conquer. That was the key thing.
Oh, for sure. When I did my time at Evraz, IPSCO back then, this is a steel mill from the 30s that you're still keeping alive. Even if you buy new equipment, it doesn't hook up to the old equipment. So you got to figure all that out because it doesn't exist. And some of it you actually have to invent, send off to get machined, and whole processes. And I always tell people maintenance of major industrial sites as a welder is some of the funnest work you'll ever do.
It is.
It's just random every day. You're always
Yep.
putting out a fire or some disaster, and that keeps you on your toes, right? Like,
Very much so. Like,
yeah,
or just even trying to rig something into putting a big heavy piece of equipment into this old building. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't slow or sling over top of that old wooden eye joist up on top and
yeah,
trying to
and
hope
then
that it's
drive it
going
in.
to try to drag it in afterwards. Like, but yeah, no, it was neat. And I really missed that kind of work. Um, I was quite proud of happy with myself. I got the opportunity to do that, but it's not really a great job with a family and everything,
No,
being
that's
away
tough.
and
Yeah.
all of that. That's a tough part. But yeah, and then in 2000, I that's when I met my wife, and she lived in Saskatchewan, and
How'd you meet her? Maybe I shouldn't ask you on here, but I know your
uh,
wife's a
it
wonderful
was on
lady.
the internet. Actually, I did.
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah,
think
good.
we met on that, and then it was October of 90, October of 2000. I came out at Thanksgiving to meet her on the weekend and all that, and she brought me to her parents and all that, and it was
Mm-hmm.
great. And then I had a job interview in November at Babcock and Wilcox in Melville at
Yeah.
the and I got on there. Then I said to my mom, my
And
last
that would
Christmas.
have been as a pressure welder, likely,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because at that time, Babcock, Wilcox, and Melville was mainly pressure piping, and I
yeah.
believe joints. I think they used to do like the what do they call? I forget what they're called now.
They
The
built all the superheaters
Yeah.
and the boiler assemblies into
Mm-hmm.
the power plants. Yeah, I had my pressure ticket. And also, when I was in Ontario doing other shutdowns, I went and worked in power cogen generation, which burnt old wood products out of
Mm,
sawmills and all that.
right.
And the pretty neat story on that part. With my pressure ticket, I didn't want it originally. My boss of the one shutdown I was working with, he sent me in there to go and get my pressure ticket.
Mm,
And it was my old boss from TechnoWell, Brian. He became the instructor at the Northern College of the failure program, and he became one of the testers for the boiler branch. And anyway, when I went in there for my pressure ticket, and he says, "Oh, what? Oh, good. About time you're doing this," he says to me, and I said, "I don't want it. I don't want to do spaghetti lines." And he starts laughing. He says, "No, no, this is going to be the best part of your career." No, it's not going to be the best part of my career. Like, I don't want to do this part work. Anyway, he got on doing that. And I says, "Fine, okay, like, let's do the test." Anyway, he puts nicks on the tube with my grinder and tell me this is for indicating your roots on your coupon on
mhm.
your 6G. Anyway, I started doing it all, and he says, "Yep, fine, you're good. Well, grind it up and prep it up." So on purpose to try to get out of this test, I caught where his lines were, just being or like
A jerk. Yeah.
jerk type thing. Anyway, I caught them all on that, and he says, "Well, since you're a real good smarty here, I'm gonna root bend all your bends. I'm not
Oh,
gonna face bend
okay.
none." And I said, "Here's the coupons. You might as well root bend them with the cap on and everything, so I can really fail it good." He says, "No, you aren't gonna fail. You're gonna pass it." Anyway, he bends them all with all the reinforcements and all that on it. And I had we call them bird's eyes up on top is where your
Mm,
tie-ins at times.
mhm.
And always get and nothing wouldn't open up on the what you put the rod on top. Yeah, you pass. You got your ticket today.
Dang it.
Tried everything to get out of that. So, then since that day, I've been welding pipe then.
Yeah, yeah. So now you're in Saskatchewan,
Yeah,
and you get a job in Melville, which my wife is from Melville, so I know the area well.
yeah.
She's
It's a
actually from
very, very
Grenfell,
nice
but yeah,
area.
yeah, yeah. Nice little valley there. Um, were you sure this was the right choice? I mean, a lot of Ontarians move to Saskatchewan, and we never let them leave.
Yeah.
Um, but I know where you're from. North Bay's beautiful. Like that whole area is beautiful, Ontario land.
Yeah, I really miss it actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was just amazed how long my main goal when I moved out west was going to work up in Fort McMurray.
Mm.
I had a interview one time to work on the Millennium Project.
Mm.
And my mom wasn't ready for me to leave yet from home. She wanted me to stick around home a bit longer. So I turned that down in 99 on that job application for not going out to Fort McMurray.
And the very next year you came up anyways.
Yeah, she says now you can go. Well, that's when gold really dropped down to below 205, and the forestry industry was starting to go down too. So then it was a good wise move on myself to move out here. And so I worked at Babcock for a few months, and then my wife's mom had cancer, so we moved back and she passed away in September 9/11. So it's a bad time. Every time you hear about on 9/11, it reminds us of her mom passing that time. But anyhow, I took Hoagie for a bit, and I helped her dad get him back on the road. He had a little logging company, trailing haul logs. So he had a little trucking company, and I rebuilt his logging trailers. He was trying to make excuses for not being able to go out, so rebuilt all his trailers up and to get him out. And so I worked in his shop for a bit in there, and then I couldn't find not much work up in Prince Albert. That was the hard part around Prince Albert. It's not really much of welding industry. The paper mill wasn't hiring anybody.
Yeah.
So that was hard during that time to get around. So I went back home to Northern Ontario to Timmins to do a shutdown. It was supposed to be like 3-month shutdown, and it only ended up being like 4 weeks. So I got sent
Never
home.
mind. Yeah.
I got sent home, and then that summer, there was a little small shop in Oxbow, Saskatchewan. I was looking for a pressure welder. So I applied there, and it was a little family-run business. And he was looking for a guy to run one of his rigs. So, and that's where we came about being and living in Alameda for the last 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a break right now from our advertisers. Yep. Perfect segue, because when we get back, we'll talk about your career in Saskatchewan and and how that developed over the years, because, now you're out there inspecting the world away and gone down another route. And of course, we'll talk about your work with the Regina chapter. So, the listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our advertisers, and we'll be back after the break with Shawn Laporte.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we are back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. I'm here with Shawn Laporte, who's calling in from Alameda, Saskatchewan. In the first half of the show, we were talking about how he came over from Ontario, developed his career as a welder fitter and then a pipe welder. And now he's in Oxbow, Saskatchewan, working for an outfit, running a rig. Now, that's 20 years ago now. If I put my thinking hat on, you graduated, you said high school in 93. That puts you at about 50 years old right now. So 20 some years ago, you would have been 30, early 30s. At that point, it's usually when welders start getting kind of a little bit either not tired of pulling the trigger or burning the rod, but you start looking around and wondering, am I going to do this for the next 20 years of my life? Did you hit that wall then yet, or were you still just as happy as ever, just getting out in that truck and going to go work?
I enjoyed it, but it was again, I was able to do it bring me back to my shutdown days. You had to think on the fly, jerry rig your way to get your piping in place and all that.
Mhm.
And it was great. But I didn't like the winters too much. Like working in the winters was slow, neither
It
slow
sucks
or
out here.
yes, type thing. Like when I first moved out here from Ontario, I didn't find at minus 50 was that cold. As in Ontario at minus 30 with a humidity level of 70%, it's colder.
Yeah, it's lots colder.
So when I first moved out here, I thought it was great. And then I seen the snow conditions and all that. And I sold my sled in Ontario because I
Mhm.
knew not to bring it out here because it looks like it's like driving on ice all the time. Kidney bashers on that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I left the sled out in Ontario type thing. But so when I was welding in Oxbow, I worked there for a few years with laying NACA welding down there and
Mhm.
welding pipe. We built headers and tie-ins and pipeline, a little bit of tie-ins of pipelines and all that into batteries and oil patch,
Mhm.
repair tanks, simple like that. When the
Yeah.
oil patch type thing, it was great. It was fun. Learned how to do different piping techniques. Wasn't used to like
Yeah.
natural process piping. You're always doing uphand,
Mhm.
and now with pipelining with the oil patch, they always like doing downhand pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I
And
still don't like getting. I'm still not 100% used to it.
no, I'm not. I'm still above ground type person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I worked in a little small shop in Oxbow. It was a little fab shop. Was their shop foreman for a bit. Did that and got into forming. Back to my fitting days type thing.
Mhm.
Building toolboxes for rigs and built a water tank for one of the local rigs too as well. And that was a good job. I drew all the drawings for it and went and looked at a water tank unit with the doghouse that falls right in, goes
Mhm.
in place when they transport it. And I copied off a batch from that rig and built it for this other guy's rig.
Mhm.
And it was fun doing that, trying to do your own little engineering type thing.
Mhm.
And it was great. It was a fun job and all that. Then I moved into Aspen. I wanted to get back little pressure vessel shop called Free Flow in Esman. They were looking for a lead pressure welder. So I was there for about 10 years working
Oh
for them.
wow.
And it was great. It was it was a family run business. And when I first started, it was during the oil boom type deal. My first 4 years, I think I did not any less than 60-hour weeks and type thing. Kept
Mhm.
busy like that. Then I got tired of that afterwards. I said I have to cut my hours back. And because I wasn't able to see my son most of the times because I was born in '06, so type thing. And when you're working on those long days and all that, you don't get the opportunity to come home and see him grow up much. But it was okay and was good. So then I cut my hours back to 50 hours. And then
Only 50, eh?
50, yeah. No, it's only 50. And then I started doing side gigs and carpentry work. That's when I start to realize chasing my tails is not the thing I want to keep on doing.
It gets tiring.
It
You
does,
start to
yeah.
burn out, especially when you got a
Yeah.
family now.
Yeah, type thing. And so I worked there till 2014 and it was a hard decision to make. They didn't want me to leave, but I had a feeling that that's when stuff was going to fall out in the oil
Mhm.
again.
Mhm.
And I figured, well, I've been working weekends and every nights and all that with my carpentry business for people, and they were starting to ask me to do bigger jobs. And so I took a break from welding and opened up my own little home renovation business, which I learned when I was in high school when working with
Yeah.
my uncle and doing maintenance work for camps. So I enjoyed that. It was something different and did that for a bit. Did that for 6 years, then COVID happened. And then
The great equalizer.
there was these guys there. Nobody was allowing you to go in their house. I was unsure how things was going to go.
Mhm.
And the wife and I talked, and we said, well, maybe you should go back into welding. Carpentry absorbed all their funds and all that. So might as well get back to welding, get that savings back. And in 19, Freeflow asked me if I would come and help them. They were behind on a couple vessels. So I went to Brandon to their sister shop, Can Steel, in Brandon, and welded vessels, built some vessels for going down to the States.
Mhm.
And so I had the opportunity to work with ASME organizations because they were going for their audit for ASME, get their U stamp
Yeah.
for their vessel for these vessels going on to the States. So I had the opportunity I had to demonstrate what we're doing, how to put a nozzle into a vessel, what
Yeah.
the steps are,
All the
explain my
steps.
steps,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was a neat experience. I thought that was great. It was funny. I'm a contractor, and all the local guys in the shop didn't want to go clump close to that girl, so they threw me into the wolves on that job. So it was great. It was a great opportunity. Then, during COVID, I took a job with SASARC in Knoxville,
Mhm.
and I hadn't had my CWB tickets since 1998 was the last time I had my CWB tickets. So I had to get my 4-position plus score and metal core tickets. That's for fab work and all that. And I was able to pass them on the first try, which was quite surprising since I didn't really get that back back then. Then I had to do my stick ticket, and that went well too. But yeah, in 2004, I forgot one part. In 2004, I challenged my journeymans in Saskatchewan because I realized that Alberta wouldn't let me weld pipe unless I had my journeymans.
That's right. That's right.
So I went and challenged my journeymans in 2004, and the written part was good. I passed that first, but the practical was the challenge. It was the time when 6010 was all on the plate work. That was different. Pipe and plate are completely different.
Well,
I
they're
don't care
different
what anybody.
steels. They're
Yeah,
different steels. They're made differently. They have different QA. Um, I mean, it's not. I find that pipe steel is way better quality. It
yeah.
reacts better. It holds on better. It doesn't drip as much. You try to run an open root plate, and it's not the same as pipe, man.
No, it's not like a lot of times with pipe, you only have like a couple of inches of one position,
Yeah.
and then instead of doing 6 inches in one position. So every time I pass on the journeymans, I always flunked her with one coupon. Usually it was my horizontal, for some reason, was tying a horizontal,
That's
and it
very
would
common. Yeah.
it had to open up on me. And the instructor says, yeah, it was just slightly over the 1/8
Yeah.
rod, and made me come back again. So I took the pre-employment upgrader course. So I was able to do the 7 weeks program, which I should have done in the first place. But I was being bullheaded like any other welder that think you could do everything.
It's tough. It's a tough test. Like a lot of people think they just come in and challenge. I
Yeah.
taught the Red Seal program, and the amount of people I saw walking off the street thinking they could do it and walk out with their head between their knees is like,
Yes.
yeah, it's not that
That's
easy, brother.
yeah. Just that one coupon. I only had one problem on one coupon all the time. But yeah, that
So at this point, you're running through your career, you're doing all this amazing work. Are you thinking kind of long term of your future of the industry? Like, I mean, it sounds like so much of your life has just been chasing jobs. You know what I mean? Chasing jobs, chasing jobs. You've had 100 jobs. They're all great learning experiences. But, at some point, are you starting to think, like, what's my end game here?
well, yeah, like it's like every time I did a different job, I learned something new. Like I could,
Mm-hmm.
and then also I provide something to somebody else. The longest job I stayed at was with Free Flow.
That was 10 years?
Yeah, it was 10 years with them. And just a week ago, I went and built a couple scrubbers for them, and never welded pipe for since I did my last pressure ticket. And then they turn around and tell me after I get it all done, it's going to be X-rayed. Well, thanks for telling me. Like, and so they passed X-ray anyway. But
Good.
uh, but one thing was when I started out with that one shop in Kirkland with those two brothers, and one day with Brian, he pulled me to the side, and it's still to this day, it still sticks with me. He said to me that I was rushing and making a mess,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "Quality first, and quantity will follow."
Yeah.
And I started thinking, well, what are you talking about? And he kind of explained it. But being young and full of vinegar type thing, you don't think of that. And I said, it took me about 5 years to realize that saying makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true.
And I had to go and see him about 5 years later and say thank you. And he says,
Mm-hmm.
well, what are you thanking me? And I says, that one day you set me aside and it says, quality first and quality follows. And he says, I said, now I talk to apprentices, tell them apprentices that, and they give me that same dumb look what I gave you that day. Like, what you mean? Tell me to slow down and not go faster. But it's true. Like, if you do it right in the first place, you go quicker.
Oh,
You
for
get
sure.
things
Rework
done.
is the death of money.
Yes. And that is the best thing I ever heard in my career was that saying. And I preach it still to this day type thing to new apprentices and other people. Even with my inspections, I even tell them that too. Like quality first and quantity will follow. And you don't get the rework. And I don't have to be the person to tell you you have to rework it. Type
Now,
thing.
at what point did you think that you're going to start heading down that inspector route? When you're thinking like, this is kind of neat. I've worked on WPSs. I've done some cool stuff with some cool companies. I've been a part of the process with ASME, CWB, API. If you were doing some tanks, probably some in there. So, at what point did you start thinking this might be something that you'd like to get into?
Well, with my career with SASARF, when I came back in 2003, I was only on the floor for about 3 months, and then they brought me into the quality department to do inspections and all that. And I thought, great, I'm 51 now. 3 years ago, I was 49. So, and I knew I couldn't weld like I used to. I was getting called back on my UT scans and all that, and it really bugged me. Like, come on, like I've been doing this for like that. It doesn't mean anything. But it's just that my eyesight is not perfect. It was like 20 years ago. One thing, and just that you still have the technique and everything, but it's hard to get that technique to be perfect again. It's not like being young again. Like you're able to go quick and all that.
Yeah, you can't go back in time. That's for sure.
Yes. So I realized that, well, maybe this inspection way is to be great. Then I can be more of a mentor this way. I realized that a lot of inspectors we got come on the floor, they never had a welding background. So
for sure.
When I challenged the inspector, telling me that I failed this weld area, okay, prove it to me. Why I failed it? What did I do wrong? And all that. And I asked them multiple questions. What can I improve myself on? What am I doing wrong? Like, and then again, he gave me the stunned look. Like, well, that's your job. You're supposed to figure that out. But when you can't communicate to the welder and trying to tell him, okay, maybe try changing your rod angle and work with them to be able to make them improve better. It's not a beneficial part. So that's why I got into quality. It's more for doing mentorship. And also it gave me a great opportunity to learn what I was doing wrong. The last time I seen W59 was when I was in that with
program.
that program. Also too that working at Techno Weld, like with Ryan and Tom Ray type deal. They were just getting certified with CWB and all that. And W59 was only like 125 pages back in the late 90s, I think. So it was, and then now today W59 is like just under 600 pages. So there's a lot of things that changed over the years, like that people learned that we were doing wrong in the industry.
Yeah, and the science and technology advances too. The methodology for testing gets better.
Yeah. And again, too, like with my age there, I'm so used to using the transformer welders, like then you get these inverter things, like, okay, like
they run so nice.
It does run nice, but okay, I gotta re-educate myself how to use this piece of equipment again. Like the laptop and the whole works, trying to figure out what it's calling.
Like today's call.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Get my mic to work. I just had to reset the computer. But
now we've ran through your entire career, and you've brought up some great pieces of information that I'm going to key in on, because you repeated them over and over, and you said it about a number of the different jobs you've had, is that you had someone be a mentor. You've had teachers that were mentors. You had an uncle that was a mentor. You had people in the workplace that said things to you to mentor you. And now you said, kind of on the back end of your career, I won't say that, we're still young at heart, but
yeah,
you want to now actively mentor as well. It's important for you to not just get in the hole with all your knowledge, but to share it, right? Yeah. Now, how do you do that? How do you become a mentor? How do you help get that information that you have from your career out into the next generation?
Well, now I'm doing is I work with the apprenticeship program in Saskatchewan. I grade the IP exam and the practical exam. I started doing that about 2 years ago now. And at first I thought, oh, great, I get to be the dink again who failed me when I got my journeyman's. But actually, it feels like the first day back onto getting my coupons. Yeah. Bringing up I feel the nervousness of the student coming up, and I feel those days back again, like I was doing that. And it was great. It's a great feeling seeing them exceeding, passing their hard work and all that to get their craft, master their craft, to prove that they master it.
Yeah.
And also when you have to tell the person what they did wrong, that they failed and they have to come back again, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, it is. Like, it is. There was nothing worse than having a student fail it after you see the work they put into it. And I mean, there's a couple angles to that. Some people are gifted with skills, but they may be terrible at book skills, and the written test will crush them. And then there's some people that, they'll get a 99 on that written test without even thinking about it and can't pass their MIG flat or some, position. And it's so hard to see because you're so close.
Yes. But it's neat to, like, a lot of times when I do the testing on that, I ask the student, what do you think you did wrong? What caused this to break? And those are the kind of questions. And they said, well, what do you mean? I says, no. Why did you fail this coupon? Do you know what you did wrong? And just ask those little simple questions and kind of make them think. Well, it might help. It may help them on the next challenge, like what to look for. And then if they ask you, like the graders and all that, I'm more than willing to tell them what it could have been, what could have cost it in my visual scene looking at. Like it could have been the way your rod angle on your rod at the time, or your nozzle, or how you dipped that tungsten in,
or your gas mix, or anything. So many things. Yeah,
so many variables that could have been wrong. But sometimes just telling them, maybe try it this way, and then try it again, and then practice what you did wrong, and then that may stick the next time to go on doing it. Yeah. And then sometimes it helps them. On a lot of times we do the practical exam before they do the written. And
that's how we did it at SAS Poly.
Yeah. And just asking these questions of that, sometimes that might give them a helping hand for the question on the exam.
Exactly.
just
And
by
that's
hearing
so,
it the day before.
working on the IP is interesting because I worked with Trades Board in the Red Seal program, and I've always wondered, like, some of those questions are easy and some of them are so hard. It's like, who knows this? Who would know this?
I saw him with my level 1 for
Mhm.
178.2,
Mhm.
just like doing my journeyman's exam. All the questions were identical in the journeyman's exam.
Mhm.
Like about that. Just a little few things were different. Is
Mhm.
reading the code book and all that. That's different, but just the principle of all the welders, the welding applications and blueprint reading and all that. That's the same as the journeyman's. I said
Well,
it's just like rewriting my journeyman exam.
yeah, I always tell welders too, like, I mean, you don't have to become a journey person. That's a choice. You do what you want to do. But if you want to learn about welding in a less stressful environment, the 2-week level 1 inspector course is a fantastic course. Even if you don't even want to be an inspector, even if you have no desire to be an inspector, in 2 weeks, you're going to learn some fundamentals of welding and metallurgy that are really good to have. Like,
Yeah.
you should just have those, period, as a welder, right?
Actually, I learned that with my level, like doing the inspector courses,
Mhm.
how much I did wrong over my years of welding, what I got away with and everything, what I did wrong. And the hindsight is now I know what I can get away with to go forward to on certain applications too as well.
Yeah.
That's the flips and all that. That is a key thing is educating. Like a lot of inspectors won't educate the person why they're failing. Um, say where like a lot of times I bring the code out to the welder when they're challenging me about my decision to why I'm making them rework it. And I would bring the code book out and show them this is what I have to follow. This is the reason why I have to reject you on your weld on this part.
Yeah, it's laid right out.
It's
Black and
laid right
white.
out,
Yeah.
black and white type thing. I know there's a lot of gray areas, but
Mhm.
it's debatable. But and also that's by experience at the same point of what you see over the years.
Yeah.
And then turn around and explain to them, maybe try this way. Maybe it's your application on certain things. And just take time, clean it better. Like
Mhm.
a little bit of cleaning will help you in the long way type thing.
Now, in your travels, going all the way back to the beginning when you first started welding, did you ever have any interactions with the association? Because, like, at that time back then, there was a chapter in the Big Nickel. They're not anymore, but there's always been a pretty strong selection of Ontario chapters. There's always been the Saskatchewan chapters. Did you even know about any of that side of this industry? Coming up through your career?
No, I never realized that, and I just knew about the CWB ticket.
Yeah.
Everybody was asking for that. Before you left your course, make sure that you have these tickets to be employable. That
Mhm.
was the key thing. But yeah, about the CWB Association, I didn't know anything until I started getting involved with the. Actually, it was um, when I got contacted with you a couple times to help with a high school teacher. That was
Mhm.
the key thing where I started realizing about the association, what they can help and everything. It was listening off your podcast, actually.
Really?
Yeah. That's when I started realizing more about the association stuff.
Yeah. And then how'd you get involved here in Saskatchewan? What did you do? Like, who did you reach out to, or was it?
Um, it was a
'Cause all of
couple
us,
times.
I remember all of a sudden you were
Yeah,
just around,
yeah,
and then we never got rid of you, which was
yeah,
awesome.
pretty well. It was the first games night, actually.
Yeah.
Like, that games night, that was the first time. And that's James said, well, how about you come to games night? And then we'll talk there. And then I
Hmm.
said to James, I says, yeah, I would like to help out. And he never left me alone in that sense.
Well, we got to recruit where we gotta.
Yes.
Now, now, in your short time then with the association, when you compare it to the length of your career, you know, what value do you see in volunteering? Like, what is it that you get out of volunteering? And you invite, you promote, you bring your wife out to events. What do you get out of it? And then what do you hope people get out of it that attend?
Just to help somebody, a younger generation, to give them the encouragement, to go and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
When we had our first welcome, when we had our first welcome in the beginning of the year, beginning of the season type thing, and I had a couple kids that were sitting with myself
At the
and my
table,
wife,
yeah.
and she kept this girl who's taking I forget her name. I'm bad with names. That's the worst of it. I can remember faces, but my wife and I were really encouraging this girl to talk to, with the boiler branch. And I says, this is a great opportunity for you to excel on your career.
Mm-hmm.
If you when I started asking her questions, what she enjoyed about her program and the areas that she liked in the program. And she says, well, I like doing tenacious work and all that. And I says, the best spot for you to be is getting into exotic metals and in the power industry.
Yeah.
Doing
Get your niche.
Yeah. Then you get to work with exotic metals. And a lot of times females are better than males at that because they have the patience, not the rushing. And a lot of these exotic metals, you have to be patient with them. But that was the key thing. Is just mentoring the younger kids and giving them encouragement that welding is not always dirty. It's fun.
Yeah, there's lots
of opportunities.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have a hard time giving in is when a person is on their final year and they say, "Well, I'm not going back to school." I said, like your third year. Well, you put 3 years of your apprenticeship already, and you just have to do your final exam. Just go and do it. Friends of mine, their son was going for his last year of his last year of electrician. And he kept on telling his mom and dad, I'm not going to my final year. Anyway, his parents asked me, tell me about that. And I said, okay, I'll hustle this kid to get into school. And I said it in front of his dad. And I said to him, when is the date when you go to school? And he says, well, it's supposed to be October. I says, okay, if I don't see you in your car the 6th of October going to Moose Jaw, I'm bringing you to Moose Jaw and making sure you stay there.
And you're so close to the finish line, man.
And he excelled. He was ace this class. I says, that's the thing. You took all that energy to go through this program, finish it. And I regret it for not finishing my electronic technician course.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing about that. And that's why I have a hard time not giving in to people not finishing.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a bad statistics for journey persons versus apprentices. It's less than 25% of apprentices become journey persons. That means 3/4 of the welders that go through school are either never welding again or not going back to school and welding just as a level 1 or level 2. Yeah. And I just feel like, well, I guess there's two angles if I really stop and think about it. Number one, no one can make you do anything. If you don't want to, if you are working at a shop and you're getting paid well and you got the benefits and you're happy there and you don't need your journey persons, good on you if that's what you like. But for the amount of journey person jobs I see available and the amount of money that I know some people could be making right now, I think about putting the tool belt back on, honestly, when I see some of these jobs out there where it's I make great money now, but damn, some of these jobs being posted out there are insane and they'd be super fun. And I think, all these jobs people could be taking advantage of. You just got to get back to school and write that damn test,
Yeah. Very much so. That's the thing. Just write that exam. They can't take that away from you.
No, it's forever.
It's forever. Even right now, I'm working on my blue seal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in that process right now, working on that. I wish I did that earlier in my career, but I just started finding out more of it when I started getting more involved with the apprenticeship program.
Yeah, I got my blue seal and I loved the course. I learned lots about business that I had no idea about, management and And I mean, those tools help me out today, right?
Yep. Any type of education helps you. It
Well, for sure.
improves every aspect of yourself type thing. It's not a disadvantage of you.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
then other volunteer systems I work in, I was with the Cadet Corps. That was great. My son was part of that. I was a CI for that. And I'm also a volunteer fireman and medical first responder in my area.
Just
So
everywhere.
that's the thing. That's my volunteer type thing. And I'm also in part of this week and on Friday where I'm going up to Saskatoon to judge the provincial skills.
Well, I'll see you there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be up
So
working in a booth all week up for skills. And well, skills is in Regina this year for nationals. So that's going to be a blast. We're going to be heavily involved as a chapter there. So
yeah, it's a great thing event to go to. When I went 2 years ago to Winnipeg when they had their nationals there, that was awesome. I
it was
thought that
wild.
was
Yeah.
great to see other trades and then how these students are, how they master their craft so well and in being competitive on it and the workmanship they get out of it type thing.
It's I feel like every tradesperson should check out a skills competition, a national one if possible, but even provincials is fun. But the national one really puts it into perspective how much investment the industry is willing to make in these kids. It's like, it's no joke, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, I'm worried about my kids getting jobs, or I'm worried about my kids having a future in the trades. Go to one national skills event and you will not question it anymore. These companies are putting up millions just to find the next batch of kids because they need them. They need the best of the best. And that's the fastest way to find them is through skills.
Yep. No, it's a great place for that skill aspect type thing. And it's neat watching them work at it. And the quality of the welds and everything, it's amazing. It's impressive. I'm jealous of them.
Well, I didn't even know about that stuff when I was a kid. So, like, I mean, and I didn't become an apprentice until I was way late in the game. So I didn't get my journeyman's until way later. So, I mean, I did everything wrong. That's what I always tell students.
Yeah.
I came out all right in my career, but I did everything wrong, you know?
Yep. But yeah, no.
So now what's the future for Shawn now? Or like you got your inspection gig, you still weld, you're a part of a number of committees and associations. You're busy still. You're a guy that likes to be busy. What do you see in your future? Because let's face it, we're 50, right? We got to start thinking about what's happening.
Well, my wife told me I'm not allowed to quit working until I'm like 80 type thing. So I figure inspection, I should be still able to be able to keep doing it when I'm 80 type thing. But I'm a level 2 inspector. Now I do third-party inspections for clients type thing. I work for Access Inspections out of Winnipeg. So they got a contract with Sus Power here. So it's a great little gig right now. But I'm working towards right now on my API 510. So I can be an in-service inspector. My main goal is to get my courses now. I'm not looking forward to doing the 7-hour exams, but anyhow, but I'm looking at the hindsight of that. Just getting those tickets right now, get my in-service, and then also get my national board. Key thing is, Saskatchewan is really promoting a nuclear. I want to get onto one of those projects so I could say I have something else I could put on my stamp of bucket list I done.
Yeah, ahead of the
in
game.
My career. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and nuclear is going to be coming one way or another, whether it's easy or hard. It's really going to be the way of the future. So that's some smart thinking. And when that industry starts to move, they're going to need leaders and mentors too. I volunteered with the WinWam, the women in nuclear and women in mining, and they're talking about all the potential work for both mining and nuclear in Saskatchewan, and it's like, where are we going to find all these people? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. I seen one post we're complaining about that all the work went overseas, like China is building all those mods for the LNG project.
Mhm.
I started thinking to myself, sure, yeah, we could do that in Canada. Where we're going to get all the manpower to do it? If we're crying
Yeah.
about the manpower is right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
or the people, I should say,
Yeah.
correct way of saying it. But just finding the skill aspect is the key thing. It's hard to find the skills. That is why I really promote. I'm really advocate of trying to get more skill trades into like the like elementary schools.
Yeah.
Like I
Secondary
remember,
schools, high schools, yeah.
like when I was in grade 8, we had shop class still. We had a machine lathe and welding machine in our woodworking shop. Like it was a small little shop in grade 7 and 8. I built a candlestick for my mom on the lathe,
Mhm.
and she still had it. And like I don't know why she kept that metal heavyweight. I wouldn't plug it in because probably short out and electrocute you. But I built that in grade 8. My mom still has it. Like I thread all the inserts to
Yeah, yeah.
that, and like those programs, I do not understand why. But back in when we were in high school, we were still challenging against baby boomers.
Yeah.
They were still, it was hard to get a apprenticeship anywhere, like in any trade actually. Back
Well, I
when we
remember
were
when
kids.
I got into welding, I started welding in 93, and getting into a union back then, forget about it. Like
Yeah.
it was like they were all protected jobs, no chance. And getting in with the city, those, dream jobs with all cooperators, good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
You'd have to know someone's kid or aunt or something to get in there. And
Yeah.
so like for most of us, we just went into manufacturing or mining, because mining would always kind of take whoever was left over, because a lot of people couldn't cut out the lifestyle, because you may want to go work at the mine, but you don't realize camp life. And camp life is hard.
It is. It's a struggle. I think it's great when you are younger before you have a
Mm-hmm.
family to experience it. Trying to encourage my son to experience it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Great way to make good money, save
Mm-hmm.
it up. And then you can go with those local jobs close to home
Yeah.
when you're
Get
raising your
more
family.
education. Because then you can go to school and get proper training and get those better
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned is, like I said, I was late to the train station for education for welding. But once I figured it out in my 30s, I was like, well, I got to stay on this. So it was like red seal number 1, then red seal number 2, then blue seal, then college classes at night. Like it's like I make good money. There's no reason I shouldn't be learning more. Like sure, I can spend the money on my kids and stuff like that, but what about me? Why am I could spend $1,000 a year to take a couple classes a year, and you know what? Down the line, every single thing I learned, whether it seemed like it was relevant or not, they've all helped me professionally.
Yep.
They all
Education
come
doesn't
around.
fail you.
Never fails you. Doesn't matter what you learn, it'll come around, and there'll be that day where you're like, "Thank you, I know how to do this."
Yeah. And you're just the rock star of the conversation at the time. You just can name that thing out for you.
Yeah,
Of the person doing that final troubleshoot.
yeah, exactly.
Type
You're
thing.
the hero.
Yeah. I enjoy troubleshooting. That is my key thing. That's why I'm coming back into, I want to go into shutdown work and all that. It's just thinking on the fly type thing. How to troubleshoot, how we can get this going on this time limit type thing.
Yeah, and shutdowns are better now. They're not as bad as they used to be. When
No.
they'd be like, take that pile of scrap and turn it into something usable.
Yeah.
It's gotten better.
Yes. Yes. Very, very much so.
Yeah.
Because you're going into the pig iron trying to find some sort of metal, and you're hoping that it's not wrong. that you're going to blow some.
You're cutting
Going
apart
into-
a crushed staircase to build a new platform. It's no.
Well, pretty well. Still an oil patch, still like that, but
Yeah.
not big industry projects anymore.
And what about staying in Saskatchewan? That's in the cards forever now. Like you guys have started a family here, and
Yep.
it's home now.
Yep. Yeah, we're still home in Saskatchewan type thing. Haven't left yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy working on the road too, experiencing that way. Since my boy's 18, graduated high school, and he's working on his own. So I figured he could survive. I know I did when I was his age.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just saying. I did road work since I was a kid, and I still do. Right, I still
Yeah.
do. It's part of the job. Part of the jobs I look for is to get out there and travel and learn new
Yeah.
things. Right.
But I still have goal sets. I want to get my level 3 in weld inspection. I
Mm-hmm.
just want to get that. Say I've done it all. I still want to be involved to do more of the API side.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I may go to Alberta and work on stuff too there.
Mm-hmm.
Get my in-service inspector course there too to do shutdown work out there. And
Mm-hmm.
there, I'm looking forward to just working a little bit in the summer and take the winter off, or vice versa.
That's a nice plan. Yeah, working winters off is nice because then you can go to somewhere else warm,
Yeah.
and then you get summer all year round.
Yeah. So, but there is a lot of big infrastructure projects going to be on the horizon, I think, and there will be a lot of work on that work type thing.
Awesome. Well, for the people that are listening, what would you say to someone that's young and looking at the steel trades? Like you've been a part of lots of different parts of the steel trades, and sometimes that's almost overwhelming for kids to look at and be like, okay, well, you say welding, then you go to the school and there's like 17 different things to sign up for. How or what advice would you give to someone that's looking at it in terms of what to do?
Be patient. Try them all out. You could find something that you like or you don't like, and then you find your itch. But don't be just stuck in one thing that you think you're only good at. Expand yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
then make yourself more valuable. That's a key thing. Is making
Yeah.
yourself valuable is a crucial thing.
Yeah. Then they need you. People want you. Your
Yes.
services. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of learning,
Mm-hmm.
and don't stop learning type thing. Nobody knows everything.
Yeah. And what about your world of volunteerism now? What would you say to young people that are like, have a job, they're in the welding industry, but they see the invites to the chapter stuff, they see the invites to the other, there's AWS sections, there's APIs, there's ASMEs, all of them, and they're like, nah, 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 nah. What would you say to someone young in their career starting out about these associations?
It's a great place to meet mentors.
Mm-hmm.
You talk. Don't be afraid of talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
My wife really taught me that. She'd been in management all her life, and she enjoys meeting people and talking to people. And she's my good mentor on that,
Mm-hmm.
to encourage me to go and talk to these people and encouraging them type thing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people out there are willing to share their knowledge. They are not afraid of taking it to the grave with them anymore. It's not like the time when we were there.
Yeah, everyone was
Like,
knowledge hoarders.
yes, we didn't have to buy that bottle to get something knowledge out of some old guy on the corner. But a key thing is, those are the people to learn from still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, to this day, I still not regretting the time when I work with those older guys,
No,
and be very respectful to them.
absolutely. I think of the old grumpy guys I worked with. I love them to death. Like the grump is just a front. Once you get past that, they're so helpful, and they got so much knowledge in them. I think about that myself. Like I almost am like, everyone once they're past 50 or once they're like 30 years in a trade should have to write a book. Right? They should have to leave a book behind, because if I just get hit by a car tomorrow, there's so many little tips and tricks that I learned over the years that I wish I could have handed off, and I just won't have the opportunity. And sometimes you don't have the opportunity to teach that trick unless it's in front of you, because you even forget that you know the trick. You know what I mean?
Don't be afraid of asking why.
Right.
Like,
right.
that's the key word. Why do it that way? And
Mm-hmm.
and if your mentor or somebody comes up to you and you see something you did wrong, and they go up and say to you why you choose to do it that way,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason is why they say that to you is to make you see what the other side, relook what you just did,
Yeah.
that caused it to be an error. Don't be afraid of that why question, I think.
Yeah. And people criticizing your work, you can't take it personally.
No.
Like you gotta just be like, okay, yeah, I screwed up. Okay, what do I gotta do to not repeat that? Welding is a science. I've heard very strong arguments lately that we shouldn't even call welding programs welding. We should call them weld tech programs because you are a technician. It's like we undervalue our knowledge. No, there's some serious science into that weld. If something's wrong, the answer is right at your fingertips. We just gotta figure it out, go through the variables, and we'll fix it.
Yep.
Right.
And the next thing too is our trade is the most scrutinized job.
Of all,
Like we're tested more than a doctor is or a lawyer, and they aren't any better than us.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Yeah.
With our knowledge, what we know, type thing in our craft, they can't match it. So,
yeah, and you can't look down on it. Like, I mean,
no.
I think society did that for a while. I hope we're past that hump, because you go out and try to find a plumber now or an electrician or a welder. There's not a lot of them, not as many as we need, and we're realizing how important that is for our infrastructure.
Very much so. Like, that's the thing. At times I feel that I'm in the wrong era type thing, because like 100 years ago, craftsmen were craftsmen. Like you look at old houses and everything, and to this day, a lot of them are still tight joint miters and everything, and they're still not open. And that guy there was not making 5 cents an hour.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was just in Chile, walking on a cobblestone street that was paved 800 years ago, and it's still perfectly straight. And I think they could build a road out of rocks 1,000 years ago and keep it straighter than the guy I see painting the yellow lines on the highway. Looks like he's painted him with a spaghetti map. Like, what are we doing wrong here?
Well, I guess that little pinky ring, that means a lot, I guess.
Oh, hey, let's not yell at the engineers too much today. But yeah, agreed.
No. The key thing is, with inspections, you have to learn is how to communicate with people. You got the tradesperson you have to deal with, learn how to talk their lingo. Then you got their upper management people, like engineers and all that, and how to communicate with them. It's a key. That is one of the struggles I learned. I had to correct myself quite often.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
It's how they communicate with these different professionals.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shawn, thanks so much for coming on the show today. This has been a fantastic conversation. I love hanging out with you. Also, say hi to your wife. She does know how to talk like a professional. Me and her can talk all night. She's just so good at that. She should host a Toastmasters or something. She's so good. But I'm sure I'll see you at we have an event tomorrow, but this will be released during April. I hope I see you at all our events. I'm sure you'll be there. And for all the people following, reach out to your local chapters, reach out to your local, associations. Like Shawn said, you want to find those mentors. You want to educate yourself. Don't be scared. Don't be shy. Everyone starts somewhere. So thanks a lot, buddy.
Thanks.
All right. And all the people that are following along online, thanks so much for downloading, sharing, and commenting. We do have a fan mail feature on our website at Buzzsprout. We've already had some people sending in some great questions. Don't be shy. I got a couple questions in there that cut to the bone to me, and I'm going to answer them. So we're right now working out of the platform on how we're going to answer the fan mail as they start coming in. But within the next few weeks, we'll probably start releasing them through Reels. So, make sure you follow us and know what's going on. And again, appreciate all the followers. You guys take care. Stay tuned for the next one.
We hope you enjoyed the show.